And while we're on the topic of talking about black women and why they don't wear their natural hair out, can we also consider the fact that some of this is actually down to the male gaze? Some women don't wear their natural hair out because they fear that they will no longer be deemed as attractive by their male counterparts. So I don't think that a lot of you guys are being 100% honest with yourselves, and I think that's because a lot of people struggle to believe that they do things for the male gaze. I really think that some of you guys struggle to accept that the reason you do certain things is because of the male gaze. I've been doing some research, guys, because this is the topic that's been on my mind for like the last month, and I've been thinking about it. Why do black women not wear their natural hair out? And well, the top 3 reasons that came up was the male gaze, the fear of not being deemed desirable by your male counterparts. The second reason was professionalism. And
I just want to interject. Anytime you say to a girl that she does things for the male gaze, she is going to deny. I even did it at a dinner one time with my 2 sisters, and they both denied it. So I know you can't have this argument.
Just discrimination in the workplace. And the third reason was internalized beauty standards, which are tied to colonial norms. And you can even argue that within the last 2 reasons that I just gave, that the male gaze is deeply embedded within them. And I think for us to initially get into the male gaze, let's get into how we've been conditioned and programmed, right? So there is a Eurocentric beauty standard that exists in society, in white-centered society.
We have to accept that. We live in, this is not our original land as black people in the UK or the US. So the ideas of beauty that dominate all our socialization from a child growing up, all the things that we see is based on what Caucasian people would view as beautiful, which is kind of just is what it is. We're here. I didn't choose to be in the UK. Well, I am making a choice to stay now, but my ancestors, it is what it is. Let's continue.
There is a beauty standard, straight, smooth, long hair, silky, flowy, long hair is what's considered more professional, more feminine, and I would say as well, like more desirable. And we know that natural hair completely challenges that. There is nothing about natural hair that is smooth, silky, straight. It completely challenges that. If anything, natural hair has been described to be, unkept, untidy, messy, big, bold, too much, nappy. And these are words that come from fellow black women. This is how you guys also perceive your hair as well. I mean, if you are on the other side now and you see your hair completely differently, I applaud you for that. But let's not act as if this wasn't how a lot of us initially grew up viewing our hair. And if we're keeping it a buck, guys, men have been conditioned to find this standard of beauty attractive.
Okay, so this is where I may diverge from her a little bit, just because for one little reason, yeah? And this is where I'm going to put anecdotal data into it. And I hate using anecdotal data because it doesn't represent the full picture. But one thing I will say is, I personally, it's a personal thing. I don't know a lot of men that like wigs. I don't know a lot of men that like wigs. Most of the men that I know prefer a woman to have natural hair on her head. That's what I believe. And that's what I know. On the flip side, though, and left a comment on this video, is just that obviously I'm not a woman, right? So I don't know what type of men these women attract. Like, what's the difference? What's the differences in the type of men that a woman with a wig, a bust-down wig versus natural hair? What is the different types of men that they attract? Obviously, I don't have the answer to that. I don't know because I'm not a woman. But that is something that I want to just point out before we continue.
You believe it or not, as even black men, right, you have been conditioned to find straight hair attractive. And I don't even want to say it's just men. I want to say it's also us as women. We've been conditioned as well, and we've been programmed to find this attractive. We have all consumed the same mass media. We looked at the same TV shows. We watched the same TV adverts. And when you would see brands like Tresemme or Garnier or Pantene, what was the beauty standard? It was long, silky, straight hair. And therefore, a lot of women have actually knowingly or unknowingly internalized the fact that men prefer straight or looser hair textures. And if you still want to argue that the male gaze has nothing to do with why you don't wear your natural hair out, which I don't agree with, I have a question for you guys that don't wear your natural hair out and wear wigs. Nothing wrong with wearing a wig. I think that the issue is when you are wearing hair textures that do not emulate your own. You're wearing Brazilian, Peruvian, 30-inch bust down, straight wigs. Where did you get the idea that that was deemed as attractive? Where did you get the idea that that is deemed as desirable?
That's a great question. And I hate, people are going to say this is planting conversation. I've got another video arguing about why we need to stop saying things are planting conversation. Usually you guys just don't know how to, you guys want to belittle conversations which you don't see the nuance in. But she makes a great point by asking this question. Where did you get the idea that that is desirable? You got it from somewhere. You got it because you were socialized to believe a certain thing. And I know we hate having this argument. We hate admitting that this is why XYZ. and this is not to put anybody down. Like, she's gonna. I haven't watched this video, to be honest. I'm literally reacting as I'm watching it with you guys, but I'm hoping she's gonna land on a very good point that I'm thinking as we watch. But that's a question that, you know, when you do ask somebody, you never get a good answer. And I don't know if it's a defensive mechanism. And this is not to attack black women, by the way, because I think that it's more if we can get to the point where we can help them believe and love their hair. And it's not to say that they don't love their hair, but maybe not to the degree in which that they should. Then, you know, I think it'll be better for all of us, actually, as black people, not just men and women.
Because a woman didn't come up with that idea. Because if it was a woman who
I'm going to rewind that a little bit so we can just...
are wearing hair textures that do not emulate your own. You're wearing Brazilian, Peruvian, 30-inch bust down, straight wigs. Where did you get the idea that that was deemed as attractive? Where did you get the idea that that is deemed as desirable? Because a woman didn't come up with that idea. Because if it was a woman who came up with the idea, why are you guys not wearing hair textures that match your own? Why do I not see more women wearing wigs that are afros? Why do I not see more women wearing wigs that are yaki textured? I mean, more women are starting to do that now, but we still know the majority rules, and it is a bust down. And we know as black women that naturally from our scalp, our hair texture was never going to match that of Peruvian or Brazilian hair, or the wigs that people wear. We grow coily hair, we grow textured hair, our hair grows thick, our hair grows coarse. Like, that is what comes with having type 4 hair as a black woman. We know that. A big reason, why a lot of women don't wear their natural hair out is because they know that they will no longer match that beauty standards in the society that they're in. You fear that you will no longer be considered desirable.
And this is one thing. This is why I don't like when men attack women, because I don't... Obviously, the black men, in terms of desirability, we have a different we've had a different experience to women. And even if we look at data from dating apps, which that doesn't tell the whole picture of the whole world, but we know that the data from the dating apps, black women are usually the least desirable, whereas black men are not the least desirable on the male side of things, usually Asian men, right? So we don't have the same pressures that women face, which is why I don't think it's ever fair for us to attack black women. Instead, we need to be a bit more empathetic, a bit more sympathetic, a bit more understanding of the challenges that they face regarding their hair, and see how can we position them, how can we help them, how can we... I don't know. I don't have the answers, but there's better ways for us to approach this conversation. This is probably one of them. And I always think it's a bit softer when you hear it from a woman, because I don't think men approach it very well. You guys have seen the whole Ginger J thing where he's crashing out on women. Like, that's not the right approach to get women to be in the right mental state to start wearing a natural hair. We can approach it better. Let's continue.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that and accepting that. I think that's actually the first step in actually wearing your hair out and actually unlearning all the conditioning and programming that has happened over the years. But I think that trying so hard not to accept it is actually to your detriment. If you're still not convinced, I would really like you to consider a society where men don't exist. And if you would still be putting on that frontal every single day in a society where you don't see men, you would still be doing that. You would still be putting on the frontal, you'd still be putting on the wigs, you'd still be putting all this effort in when it comes to your hair when you don't see men. I really want you guys to consider that, because I can think of when I've been in rooms of women, I literally couldn't care less about how my hair looks. I couldn't care less about it. I couldn't. And especially when I'm around women I'm comfortable with, I don't care. But when a man walks into the room, you see how women act, and you see how women want to cover up their hair, and you see how women want to, make excuses. Oh my gosh, my hair's not done, this, that, and the third. And it's like, why can we not just be comfortable existing in the way that we are? Other races have that privilege, and we also have that privilege, but it's almost like we're choosing not to take that extra step. We're choosing not to accept our hair as it is. Crazy.
Yeah, she said a lot there. And yeah, as someone who my preference when dating any woman is to have their natural hair. I always find it difficult, because if you say to a woman, "Oh, you prefer natural hair," they'll be like, "Oh, I don't do it for you," or they'll berate you in some form or fashion. They will not accept that. So it's just like you get to the point where it's like, all right, I ain't gonna say anything. I just won't date anyone that doesn't have the natural hair. So I just cut. I've now had to cut like 70 or 80% of my potential dating pool out the window because of that choice. And it is what it is. That's the decision we have to make. But I'm not gonna date someone who doesn't wear the natural hair, then try and convince them to do it. I don't have time for that type of argument at this stage in my life, unfortunately. But I'm still of the personal belief that majority of men actually prefer natural hair. Maybe it's just that they're not loud and proud about it. Maybe they just, I don't know. I know men, so that's why I think that. But the way that people talk about it is as if that's not true. So that's a conversation that I know needs to be had. If you guys, have any comments or thoughts about this, please leave a comment. And by the way, about 76% of you watch these videos, but you're not subscribed. And that's kind of getting on my nerves. It's pissing me off a little bit. So I'd love you to subscribe. Please. See you later.